Hello and welcome to this place on the internet where I talk about all the things I make, mostly knitting, and I am here to share with you the things I have been working on. Heads up, this part of the video, the beginning, is recorded after the rest because I was uploading my videos to my computer to edit. And I noticed that the beginning was missing, so there was not a lot that was missing. I was talking about the things I'm wearing. That's always what I start with. So this video was like quite impulsive made. Sometimes I take time to do my makeup or do my hair. Well, there's nothing left over anyway at the end of the day now. But yeah, the only thing I talked about was like, it was just, I was cleaning my room and I found items I've been working on, and I was like, well, just let's make a video to show everybody because I think there's enough progress there to show you. Yeah, so no makeup, no hair, but all the things I have been working on. And the thing I am wearing, and I was cut off halfway during filming, so you see the original footage for the most part. But the thing I'm wearing, and I will zoom out a bit, is this skirt. It's a 2.5 circle skirt. So there is a cut there as well because we are like not that far from the main road in our village, and there were like sirens going off and stuff like that, so I was waiting for them to stop, but it took too long, so I just closed my window. I was talking about this skirt. So it's a 2.5 circle skirt. I made it from fabric I had laying around in my stash. I think it's IKEA. It's such a shame that they closed, at least at our IKEA, the IKEA closest to us. They closed down the fabric section, and there were a lot of nice fabrics, not like I made a skirt out of this, but there were a lot of nice fabrics for bags and stuff like that. But I was talking about the skirt. There will be definitely more full circle skirt in my wardrobe soon. It's a little bit short, it's just long enough, but like always with a skirt I have to be a little bit careful when I bend over or anything. But yeah, it's very nice. The reason I made it this short is because I wanted at least 2 circles, and let me zoom in a little bit more. The moment, so, like the width of my fabric and the way there was already cut in the fabric, I just had to make it this length to make that happen. Then I made a mistake when I cut the shape of the pockets in. Always check 3 times when you're doing something with fabric, because once you've cut in it, you can't glue it on again. So yeah, that's the reason I had to do a little bit extra. Like I just wanted 2 full circles attached at the sides seams, and then it would be it with pockets in there. But because I cut the pockets in the wrong place, I had to cut things off and reattach them at another point, so there are a little bit more seams in here than was than I wanted to at the beginning when I was making it. But it's fine, nobody will see that. I know it, but you know it now. But nobody will walk up to my skirt and say, oh, I have a seam there, why is it there? So it's fine. Yeah, but that's I was restricted with the fabric I had, and I ended up using 2.5 circles. so I could just like get a half circle out there, so that was very nice. And yeah, it's done. The hemline is not the way you should hem your garments. I did a zigzag stitch. Let me see if I can show you. I did a zigzag stitch and I just stitched it down. That's not nice. It will fray a little until the zigzag will catch the floats and stuff, but the reason is because otherwise I should have folded over again, and that's another centimeter of length gone, and I just didn't feel like that was a good idea. So it's just what it is. I like it, I love it, I will wear it, and there will be more very full super skirts in the making. Maybe I will record one day. I love watching people sew things, and I've thought about recording a sewing project one day. The only thing is, every time I think like, oh, it would have been nice to film this, I've already started, and I think it's not that fun to jump in halfway. You really want to see the whole process when you watch those kinds of videos. So yeah, that's why I haven't done that yet, but maybe I will. Let's see, when we're on the subject of sewing, I have sewn something else, and it is huge. It's a bag, and I can fit a baby in here for sure. It's so big, and I like it when bags are big. I really had to make a bag. I needed a new bag because my old bag started wearing off, and I wasn't able to repair it in a nice way. So I was like, yeah, I will throw it away when I made a new one. But every time I was like, yeah, I will throw it away when I make a new one. And I was just pushing the making of the new bag forward. So last week I threw my bag out, and I had to make a new bag. Or buy a new bag, of course, but I wanted to make a new bag. And it's very fun because those fabrics, those are also on it's symmetrical, only the placement of the squares is a little different. But those fabrics I got from a friend that wanted to throw them out. And she said, are you interested? And I said, always, because I always like to craft and do things. So those were a gift. And the leather is harvested, is that the right word to say? Is cut off the old leather chairs of my parents. They started ripping at the place you sit on your chair. It started ripping, and it wasn't like this. The chairs were old and need replacements, but there was a lot of nice leather still on the chair. So when they threw them out, I said, well, cut off all the leather that's still good, and I will use it for something. So this was the project it ended up in, and I still have left over. There's so much leather in a chair, more than you even would think. There's a lot of fabric going in the chair. So yeah, this is my bag, and the reason it's so extremely big is not because that was my intent. I wanted to make a big bag, but this is extremely big, and the reason it's this big is because I had 4 fabrics, and I needed 4 squares on each panel. So I cut the 4 squares of fabric I had in 4 squares, and I sewed them, and that's the base of the dimensions of the bag. And once I attached this part in the middle, I was like, this will be a extremely big bag. But then I was like, yeah, but I already sewn this all together and stuff, I'm not going in and cutting everything smaller. It will just be an extremely big bag. So that's what it ended up. And it's amazing. It has like pockets on the outside, so there's no closure there, but it has like 4 extremely big pockets. And I don't know about you, but sometimes you just want to put something in your bag without needing it to open or stuff like that. For example, with groceries or something, sometimes you just want to shove something in there while you're walking or while you're busy or whatever. So that's very nice. And then it has like, here is a magnetic closure. It's not like closing it up that good. Like, I don't think this is a bag you need to go somewhere with big pockets or something. Like, people can get in there and take things out if they want to, but there is kind of a closure there in the middle, and once you open that up, it's like huge. And I made some pockets here, like a little one for my phone, and here another one for things I need to be able to grab quickly and don't have to swim through my bag to get to it. So yeah, it's very nice. It has some flaws, of course. I'm not a perfect sewist, but the main thing is that I had some places where I needed to go through so many layers of leather that my machine was just like, nope, we're not gonna do that. Clouds in front of the sun. So yeah, so that's like, it's not going to fall apart, but some parts are just like, they could have been nicer. But yeah, what will you? I think there were places there were 6 layers of leather on top of each other, and that's just not gonna happen. Even 4 layers is way too many, and it was not even only 4 layers of leather, but also like fabric in between there. So it was just, I think I broke 5 needles, leather needles. So I did use the needles for the leather, but even then I broke like 5 needles. And then I was like, well, I do it by hand. That's not fun, going to that many layers by hand. I stabbed myself. That was also not fun. So I tweaked around it, and nobody will see that I tweaked it. There is a lining in there, so it's not like if there's a teeny tiny hole that everything will fall out of my bag, because the liner is fixed perfectly. So yeah, it's just maybe better to do leather on a machine that's made to do leather. Like, yeah, I don't have a machine like that, and I wanted to make it myself, and I just enjoy it a lot. But yeah, maybe not the best idea for everybody to just do that, because you will ruin your machine if you're not careful. But yeah, so those are 2 sewing projects, and we're here for the knitting, I think. So just go to the knitting. Let's see. I have a few projects I've been working. Oh, this is something fun. Before we start, I got not the skein inside, but I got a package from Michelle. She is Miss Knitwit NL on Instagram, and she has an Etsy shop, I think, and she makes these very cute cake cozies, I think they're called, and you can put a skein of yarn in there, caked up, and then when you start knitting from it, it will keep everything together. So the last bit always falls apart. At least I have the problem that it falls apart in the end. And this will keep it nice and compact and yeah, very cute. So she put it in a package as a present. So I'm very, very happy with that. Thank you, Michelle, and I will use it. So So that's very nice. Let's see what else I have to show you. First with the things I've been working on, and then I have to share a few things about the Knit and Knots market. Is it a market? It's more than a market. Like, oh, Fiber Festival is like something in between there. There was a lot of fiber, there was a lot of wool, there was a lot of cotton, there was a lot of yarn. So I will talk about that in the end. First, let's go to the project I've been working on. So I have been working on the lace shawl I'm knitting on. Let's see. Oh, I'm halfway a row. This is my knitting when I'm out and need to wait for something. This is my knitting. So that's why I've stopped halfway, because I normally don't do that. It's a little bit harder to show now. Yeah, but this is my lace shawl. It's called Windy Fields. It's a pattern featured in the Laine book 52 Weeks of Shawls, and I'm lacking the name of the designer, but it will be in the description box below. So yeah, it's growing. Last time I recorded, I put a marker in there. I replaced it, and so I've done this much, and I'm quite happy with it. I think it's more than one repeat I did, so that's very nice. I had a very tiny ball of the, because I used the yarn for something else that didn't work, so I ripped it out and I had a tiny ball of the yarn I had already used, and now I switched to the unused yarn, still from my first skein. So that's this one, and I'm going through it quite fast now. So I think this is less than half a skein now. Yeah, I think it's less than half a skein. So we will see how far this will brings me into the pattern, and then I will just have to make that the middle of the shawl or scarf, and yeah, just go with that length. I hope it will give me enough length to at least completely wrap it around one time. I hope more, but yeah, it's just going to be what it is, and it's very nice. It will block out as well, so it will be a little bit longer once it's done. But yeah, it's a very nice pattern. It's memorizable enough that I can use it as my on-the-go knitting. But I do have to say that every time I like the one full repeat is like, let me see if I can show you. Like you have those, I think these are grain, like grain arms or something like that. It has to represent something like that. But you have two in a repeat. So this is one repeat of the pattern, but you shift them over each time. And every time I have to start a new piece, I have to think about where I have to place this in the fabric. So I will have to look that up every time I do it. But yeah, for the most part it's very intuitive and it works fine. I'm getting used how to make those moushes of stitches doable, so that they don't take a lot of effort to make. You just need to keep them very loose, and I'm getting better at that. So I will just take my my progress keeper. Let's see, where is it? And I will put it in the row I'm now, and then we will see how far I will be next time I show it to you. So right there on the edge, it's up again, and we will see how far I will get with this one. So that's a project I want to show. There's another project I want to show, and I know I've showed it a lot of times now, and every time it shrinks down instead of it's growing. Because I'm talking about the Contrast Blast socks by Stephen West. They were the first sock mystery he did this summer, and my yarn is all tangled up, but it's okay. Yeah, so I knit this when it was released as the mystery pattern, which was very fun. There was only one issue, and that was my needle choice. Not because his recommendation was wrong, but because I really like very tight knitted socks. So I normally do my socks on a 1.75 millimeter. This is 1.5 millimeter, just because I like, this is quite a thin yarn, and I really like my socks knit tight. Normally when I do a vanilla sock, I use 72 stitches in the round on small needles, and it works great. But because this yarn is a little thinner, and mostly because those slip stitches are in the pattern, that makes the fabric a little stiffer. So the first time I knitted, it was 72 stitches, those fit, but I found the stitch gauge too loose. So I started again, thinking to myself, will I need to go up a size? And I was like, well, no, 72 stitches will be okay for me, because I've done that before. But not taking into account the stiffness of, it's not extremely stiff, but it's stiffer than just stockinette. So I didn't take that into account. I casted them on 2 at a time, and I was almost at the heel, not at the heel, at the second stitch texture in the leg, and I was like, those will not fit me. I was talking to myself like, well, your kids will fit them and they will like it, and they will. That's totally true, only I want to wear them. I want to make these socks for myself. Mainly because they give me Wednesday Adam vibes, and I just really like that. So yeah, I want to wear them myself. So I ripped it out again. You see the thread is not in its best condition. I don't know if you can see that from a distance, but like it's splitting and wrinkly and stuff. But once you knit with it, it's still looking fine. But yeah, it's not my best work, shall we say. But I'm in love with it again. I knitted this, I think, in 2 or 3 evenings. The most difficult part is those cables at the edge of the cuff. There are, let's see if I can show that in black yarn on camera. I don't think so. In real life you see it, but it's just the brightness up. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, here you can see it. There's a cable at the edge of the cuff, and that goes into the pattern, which is very, very nice. It's very nicely done. The only thing is that in black yarn, a 2x2 cable with very small needles, that's not something you want to do at night in front of the telly. So yeah, that was a little bit of a struggle, but I'm past that, and I will only need to do that once more in my other sock. But for now that part is done, and now it's like a breeze, and I like the slip stitch texture a lot. So yeah, this is in the running again, and I will not rip it out again. If it fails me on whatever reason, for whatever reason again, I will just be done with it. I will just be done with it. That's what I say now. Just wait until, no, I don't want to rip it out again and start over. It will be fine. I'm gonna finish them and they will be gorgeous. So my last work in progress is my Penguono. And let's see, I think it's, I can show it off wearing it, kind of. There are some stitch holder cables in there, so it's not completely the shape it should be, but it's closed. Like this piece you have like the back, and then you knit the side, and then you knit the front, and then you do that the same on the other side, and then you can lay it flat. And the moment you put these pieces in at the shoulders, it starts to be like a cardigan. So it's kind of, I can try it on now, so that's very nice. I finished the top of this sleeve, but there is like a cable in here that's also on the underarm stitches, and this needs to be closed up eventually, but this is like stretching, it's a little bit too tight, so I can't show that completely. But yeah, I finished that part. And on the other side I am working on that part of the sleeve, so that's very nice. Then the undersides need knitted, and I think then the only two parts left is the collar and the edge on the bottom, so it will be longer than it is now. And at first when I started, I was a little bit, it's so comfy, I was a little bit afraid that it would be not as oversized as I wanted it to be. But now I put these pieces on and I can try it on, and there is enough positive ease in here to make it very nice and comfy and cozy. And also like the length is okay now, but it will be longer because you add a border there, and it will be just giant and comfy and very, very nice. I did not plan out the colors in advance. I do for each section. So I planned the colors out for the back, and then I went to the sides and the fronts, and I want to be it not symmetrical but coordinating. So like I have blue ridges over here, and I put a green piece on top, and over here I have green ridges and I put a blue piece on top. So it's not symmetrical, but it is kind of coordinating, and I really, really like it. It has been quite warm to work on this, but it's just so fun that I did some in the evening hours with my window wide open, and it was very nice. It's not that many stitches, and that's quite nice. When you have a big warm project and you have a lot of stitches and you have to think a lot about it, then it's not, I don't really like that in the heat. But this was loose and open, and it kind of worked, and I really like the pattern, and I think I will make another one. The only thing is that this one I made, as I said, I didn't plan out the colors in advance. The sun is going in and out, and it's, yeah, okay. So when I make it again, I'm more aware of the construction of the garment, and I don't think I will be able to do it completely with no color placement in mind as I did this time, because I had kind of an idea how it was constructed, but not really. So I took it section at a time, which was very nice. But next time I will know better how everything is placed, so I think that will be more planned in advance color wise. But I really like the pattern. I think it's a really comfy, knit to make. Not only to wear, but also like it's very easy, but in the same way interesting, and it's just a breeze. It's so fun. So those were my knitting projects. I do have one other project to show you, and that's this one. And you may look like, what is that? A strange kind of sock slipper thing with all those colors in strange places. This is my very ever first needle binding I did. So I'm very proud of it, even though it may not be perfect. So it's just the basic stitch I used, and I think next time I will do a slipper or something, I will go for a stitch a little bit tighter. But for my first attempt, I think it's very nice, and I'm working on the second one. And the fun thing about needle binding is that you use short bits of yarn. So every time you take a new piece and you attach it to your work and you go along, and that's where I put my, of course you can take pieces of the same color of yarn every time, but every time I needed a new piece I changed color, and I think that's such a fun thing to do, and I think that makes it even more enjoyable, that you don't know exactly how the color placement will be. This is my needle. This is handmade by a Dutch guy who was on the Knit and Knot fair, and he was there explaining and showing off his needle binding, and he has a YouTube channel, and I think he also has some things in Dutch, in English. So, and he was there selling his needles, and I was like, well, that's not something you can get everywhere, right? So it's blunt, it's flat, he made really sure that it's completely smooth, there is no yarn getting stuck on it, so it's extremely nicely made. And yeah, I'm trying that, and I enjoy it. I don't think it will be my go-to. I really love my knitting, but I think I enjoy it more than crochet. It's easier on my wrists, and maybe I have to think of a way that I can do crochet patterns with this technique. That would be something very, very fun. And I did take one more souvenir from that fair. Knit and Knot is a Dutch yarn festival, if you want to call it like that. I think there are like 60 stands, and it's in Tilburg, which is in the south of the Netherlands. It was very fun. It was extremely hot. I think I would have enjoyed it even more if it was a little bit cooler, because it was above 30 degrees and it was hot. But yeah, so I bought the needle there. I did talk to quite some people. It was very, very nice, and I think it will be maybe my favorite I've been to in the Netherlands. I'm not sure, although I do like the Weversmarkt in Hoorn as well, but that's completely different. That's more into, yeah, they're just different. But it was very, very nice, and I bought one skein of sock yarn as a souvenir as well. This is Wool Addicts Footprints. It's by Long Yarns, and it's color changing. I love it. And it's a sock yarn, but I'm not sure if I want to make socks with it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm not sure. I think it will be very nice in the shawl as well, but it will also be very, very nice just as a pair of socks. So we will see. I've never used this brand before, so I will be happy to find out how it's going to knit up. And the fun thing is that it's 45% cotton, and 42% wool, and the last 13% is nylon, because it's a silk yarn, and commercial silk yarn also always has nylon for durability, which is something different than acrylic yarn. But I'm not going into that right now. But it doesn't feel cottony. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Cotton yarn has some kind of stiffness and lack of bounce, dare I say. I don't know. Cotton is mostly not my favorite, but this feels more wool than cotton, even though there is more cotton in there. So I'm very, very curious how this will knit up. So that's everything I have to share for now. I really need to go. You heard my alarm going for 2 times. I really need to go and pick up my kids now. So I will see you another time, and bye bye.